information that we're seeking, perhaps a point of view that we want to enforce. But where do we go from here? If Black lives do indeed matter, where do we go from here? After the movement, after the social media aspect, what happens now?
I'm actually going to stand just to make sure I see everybody and they can see me from back there. I've been in the business world, for a very, very long time. I came here to the United States as an immigrant who did not speak English at all, and so I find myself in a room full of strangers. And in this country, you were all the same to an immigrant coming into the country. And so how do you, but the spirit with which I came, even though I did not understand so much about Americans and their way of doing things, I came with a curiosity that said, these people were just interesting. They were different than I am. They had a different language. They had a different way of speaking, different way of dressing, different way of eating, cutting their foods, everything. And so there was that curiosity. And I'm sure if I were to poll in this audience, are there any foreigners here in this country? Okay, raise your hands. All right, there are many of you. And so when you came to this country, it was very, very strange for you, but you assimilated. You got to know everything. You had that curiosity. And I think the wonderful history you just gave about the Black Lives Matter movement here in the United States shows that we need, as a people, more curiosity. Take away what Dr. Addy just mentioned, that fear. In fact, there is, you all have a cell phone, right? In fact, if you have your cell phone, before you leave, I'm going to give you something to take away with you. Dr. Addy mentioned something about fear. Dr. Henry Link, a psychologist whose specificity is the brain, said this about fear. He said, we generate fear while we sit, we overcome them by action. Fear is nature's way of wanting us to get busy. Or in other words, some others in the motivational scene have said fear is false evidence appearing real. What we don't know, we fear. And so, separate, but yes, we can be equal. No, you are getting together to know each other and take away that fear. So I never focus, even in business, we never focus on just a problem, but we come up with solution. So you think about being here in a school, in an institution, and that's why I put, can you guys see this quotation on the board? Mm-hmm. It says, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Do you know, who can tell me who said that? Anyone in the audience, who said that? It was Nelson Mandela. Did that man change the world? Did that man change not only his world in that little corner of South Africa, or did he change the entire world? He did, he did. That's a movement that went. But in reading his book, he talked about how do you change something? You've got to reach people's heart. You've got to reach people's heart. So as this is a beautiful, as his word, rainbow of people that I see in front of me here. When you look at each other, you should be proud that you have such a beautiful scenery to look at and take the time to get to know and not fear because of the way somebody looks. I was talking to my sons before I came here about, my children, about what are your thoughts, college students, what are your thoughts about this thing, about this movement and so forth. And one of them said to me, she says, I'm surprised that people are still stuck on melanonin. He said, that's what, they're stuck on melanonin. He says, I cannot believe it. He's a millennial, He says, I cannot believe it. It should have been as basic as your first biology class, that people are going to be different. Depending on where they live, depending on where they are, you're closer to the equator. Nature has a way of protecting you from being cooked by the sun, the melanonin. And he said, if we can go past the fact, that simple fact, that it's melanonin, then he says, as a group of people, we start working together, then it's eureka. Then we can start controlling the universe. We move beyond that. So what I'm a solution-oriented individual. What I like is to make sure that you have the tools not to be fooled by fear. Whenever you go to places like this, where you're hearing the wonderful history about this country and how we overcame a lot of things in this country and other places, you've got to think about, okay, now that I am what? Educated on melanolin, I can open my eyes to actually get to know other people. Because, I mean, I hate to bring it this simplicity, to bring it so simplistic to say, when all of you here in the audience, if you woke up in a world where all they required was for you to, I don't know, wear white t-shirts all day long, where would the variety be? If they required you to just eat, I don't know, mac and cheese, because my daughter would be happy. But I mean, you know, where would the variety be? What makes us humans are the things that we should be interested. The differences is what we should embrace. And this is why here, what I would say on a college like this, where the school has been so wonderful to hold a program like this, you go out, you're the one that's going to change the world. You are, each and every one of us here, whenever you go to something like this, you said, I'm going to make the difference by embracing everyone who may not be like me. And that's really where that's the place I come from. That's where I said, that's why it is everyone. And until you start thinking that you have to look within your heart, and that's what Nelson Mandela in his book says, you look at your heart and take away that fear that's holding everybody. It is as though, you know, no matter who you are, you cannot look at it as though others have put me in a box and I'm going to wait until they take me out of it. Break out of that box and change the world. That's what I would say. Break out of that box and change the world. So, go ahead.
A question for either one of you, actually a comment and then a question. I've had many people say to me, including students, well, all lives matter. Why should we be concentrating right now on just Black lives? Why are we even doing this? Why is this even a thing right now?
It's obviously an issue. It's obviously an issue. When you hear someone, who was it, that said that it was is it a white politician who said that when I send my children out in the world, I don't worry about it. And then when you hear someone like a mother like this who said, you know, because of the intensity of the melanolin of my son's skin, I have to worry about it. It means that there is still the opposite of education around. There's still that kind of ignorance. And when you are ignorant, you allow and fester fear. And when you are fearful, you know, like, I'm going to protect my little section here for fear that somebody else might encroach upon that right and take it away, you see? And that's where it's that basic instinct, because we have two strong emotions. We have love and we have fear, right? They're both very strong. Which one is the strongest? You can't say fear is not very, very strong. It is very, very strong. It's so strong that it caused another group to enslave another. It caused another, because out of fear. I mean, look at, it's not just in the United States. You go back also with Hitler. Caused that kind of a fear. You've got to take it in its totality to take a look at it. But if you take love, I remember someone said that justice is what love looks like in public. Justice is what love looks like in public. So I would say, whenever we get together like this, each one of you has a responsibility to take a look at the person next to you and say, wow, thank God we're both different, you know? Because now we have something in life is more interesting as a direct result. I mean, does that make sense? I don't know. Does that make sense to any of you out there?
To me.
You know?
It makes perfect sense to me. Anita, if you could chime in.
You know, I thought of a couple of things. What's gonna make a difference? I am a race woman. Okay, my dad was a race man. My niece used to say, "Well, Grandpa was racist." I'm like, "No, Grandpa's a race man because he is concerned about African Americans, Black people. It doesn't mean that he doesn't care about anybody else, that he doesn't love anybody else. I am concerned about Black people, about all people." On that t-shirt that I had made, I had on the back, "All lives matter," because all lives do matter. But what happens on a day-to-day basis to the African American community in this country that we don't even see, the institutional racism, I think, is what I'm really trying to get at. The institutional racism is a strong concern of mine. Tom Joyner, on the Tom Joyner Show, has this little segment, Hidden Racism. You know, I was reading the newspaper, it was a couple of Sundays ago, and we live in Middletown. In the Middletown newspaper, I open up the coupons, and there's a coupon for Subway, healthy food. I go to Hartford, and all I see is a coupon for Burger King. I'm like, wait a minute, you know, that's not right. You know, where are the supermarkets in the Black neighborhood? Why is the gas 20 cents higher in the Black neighborhood? How come I can't find healthy food in the Black neighborhood?
You can find a liquor store.
You can find a liquor store. Yeah, you can find a liquor store. And so I am concerned. I am first and foremost Black Lives Matter. I do love that justice is what love looks like in public. I want to make two comments. The Connecticut Forum had a forum on racism, continuing the conversation. And whenever this was, I can't remember. My son and I, my older son and I went. And just before it started, Michelle Norris from NPR was the host. And like 5 minutes after she got through introducing everybody on the panel, 2 rows in front of us, a group of people stood up, and they were from the Black Lives Matter movement. And they started screaming, "Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. We're here to disrupt this function today because Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter." And well, Aaron and I are like, whoa, man, this is real, right? Megaphone, the whole 9 yards. There were people up in the balcony, Black Lives Matter. And then Michelle Norris turned around and said, "Turn around and talk to us. We want to hear you." But all they did was scream, "Black Lives Matter." And then they were escorted out. What good did that do? It did nothing but disrupt. And they said, "We are here to disrupt." But it's like preaching to the choir. We were here to talk about racism. They could have been a part of the conversation. So how well is this organized? I'm not quite sure. 2 years ago when Lucas went to New York to see the ball drop, and then there were marches and he couldn't get to 30 Rock. And so I see this on TV, and our younger son is at Grand Central. "Where are you, son? You know, there's police, there's marching," and he's explaining texting me what's going on. And I texted him back, "You know what's going on? March, honey, just march, march," because it's about something else right now. You know, so I am about Black Lives Matter, unapologetically Black.
We're going to open it up to some questions. I'm sure that